I think we in the state of Washington have been very fortunate in having Talgo as a partner, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce the president of Talgo Incorporated, Senor Antonio Perez.
Thank you very much, Art and Lloyd, for this very kind introduction. And well, first I wanted to thank all over Washington and Art for the opportunity to explain a little about our company, what we do, and how we have been partnering with Washington State and Oregon during these years. We have been we landed in Washington State 14 years ago, and we've been always having in mind that the right way to approach and work with to be successful in this rail development is through partnerships. A little information about Talgo. Talgo is a company that primarily designs, manufactures, and maintains Talgo trains, high-speed trains. This is our core business. This is what we've been doing since the 50s, and we have built more than 3,000 vehicles, and we all in high-speed rail. Also, what we do is we design and manufacture equipment for the maintenance of the trains. Since that's well, at the beginning in the 50s, when Talgo first manufactured the first train, probably was so unusual that we started doing what now is basically is common in the industry, which is that the manufacturer also provides maintenance of the equipment that's being designed and manufactured by us or by them. Where we are in a number of well, in Spain we have obviously a big presence. Talgo's parent companies has subsidiaries in the US, Germany, and has, of course, in the United States, and also has, also we have some facilities in Bosnia and Kazakhstan, and our company has identified, in the 80s, identified the US as a key market, a market that had lots of potential, precisely because in the 50s, the rail was basically abandoned in favor of the highways and the air, and but then we had and we have products and number of products that really suited very well what later I'll talk about, which is the incremental approach. There, just also an overview of the company is like in Spain is well, in this year in 2010 is the second country only after China in rail development, very high-speed rail development. And our market in Spain is 50% for the very high-speed trains. When I talk about very high-speed trains, I'm referring to 220 miles per hour or higher. And for the long-distance trains, we have about 55%, so significant presence. In the US, we have also significant presence of high-speed rail. The only thing is that this market is very much smaller. So we have like 31% when including the trains that we have recently sold, and the rest of the trains are basically the Acela high-speed rail trains that are running in the Northeast corridor. Our history in the States, however, is not new, even if in the last 14 years we've been working in the States, in Washington. We started working in the United States in the 50s. Actually, the first train that was running in commercial operation in Spain and in the US, they were manufacturing in the United States. At that time, in Spain was kind of getting out of civil war, and in Spain didn't have the industrial capacity to manufacture these high-speed, these technologically advanced trains. It's kind of funny that now this industry is now the States looking for some of the places in the world to look for this technology, because in the 50s that was when the countries need to look at the United States. And well, after this period in the 80s, we started doing some runs in the US, primarily was in the Pacific Northwest corridor, to identify how best our trains would fit the high-speed rail. At that time, well, in the Northeast, basically there was a decision made that because there are high platforms in that corridor and our trains are very low, Amtrak was not willing to lower the platforms or kind of dedicate only one platform to our equipment. And but we found that Washington State in the Cascades corridor, they were very open and they took an approach that was realistic, but at the same time they wanted to make things happen, and things happened. We leased trains. That was a complete success. Only in 6 months, the ridership increased 40% compared to the previous year. And then Washington State decided to buy 2 trains at the beginning. Amtrak joined this order with 2 additional trains. And in 2003, well, Talgo built 5 trains. This is one of the trains was just because we were expecting to sell this train. Actually, it was for the Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Las Vegas. But then, since that project didn't happen, we had that train. We owned that train, and that was finally sold to Washington State. And then this last year, couple of 2009, 2010, that's after basically waiting for 10, 12 years, we've been able to sell 2 additional trains, 2 to Wisconsin and 2 to Oregon. Partnership with Talgo. Lloyd told me that when I asked him what should be the title of my presentation, he said, well, explain the partnership, how you see the partnership with the States. And so when I was thinking through this, if we look at how the project is developed, from the concept through the overhaul of the equipment, I was thinking how Talgo has been working with the States. In the concept, in the time when we provide the concept, we are together with the States designing the line, what type of equipment is required. Talgo has been working with another group of interests, providing advocacy and education to decision leaders, and also we've been very active in our role. We've been supporting Amtrak, we have been supporting Washington State, Oregon, not only with the work we do here, but also with the work that we provide from our office in Washington, D.C. In the design stage, we provide, we start investing even before in order is placed. And this is some things that people don't know, but for instance, for the next generation of Talgo equipment that is being sold here, we started investing, or the company made the decision to start investing in a new redesign even before we had an order. And this is not something that not many companies do, and this shows our commitment with this market. Then, of course, when doing the design, we work with the States in order to accommodate what their market needs, and we work with the States and with Amtrak to identify what type of train they need. So it's not just out of the shelf, an out of the shelf train, and because we are working this in those corridors, we understand also what type of services are required. During the manufacturing stage, we are partnering with the States through identifying local vendors. We understand that now more than ever, the jobs creation is what everybody is looking for. Sometimes it seems that it's almost more important to create jobs and to buy one particular piece of equipment, but we do that, and the trains that are running here were manufactured in Washington State. We, contrary to some of the companies, we also are providing trains even if the order is not very large. I mean, normally companies are used to huge, big orders, and otherwise they say that no, we don't want to do that. We understand that the states have some financial constraints, and we work with the states. During the maintenance, we are doing maintenance with the local, of course, with local workers. And in our case here, you know that we use Amtrak personnel, so we manage the operation, although the personnel is provided directly by Amtrak. We provide our piece of, we collaborate and we provide our piece of work in order to have the trains make available and reliable. And we also work with local suppliers. And then for the overhaul stage, which is something that now the trains are being work that is being undertaken now, and Washington State really has spending lots of money to keep the trains in the best possible shape. This is really people when they look at the trains, they really look at they look like new, but this is only because Washington State has been willing to keep this service as a top level. So this is my view as to how we our partnership, and then I'll continue with the type of products that we some overview of the Talgo line of products. Here you see like it's a graph that shows the different type of products that Talgo has as a function of the speed and the stops. So the higher the speed, the longer the stops. People, you know, in some places they want very high-speed trains, but then also many stops. So in that case, you don't really need a very high-speed train. You can go slower because you don't really take advantage of the very high-speed trains. So you see that from 140 to 235 miles per hour, we can accommodate any customer needs. Why Talgo is people ask, and you may wonder. Well, there are some features inherent to the Talgo equipment that makes that equipment especially good for high speed in general and for this corridor in particular. I'm not gonna go through this in very detail, but because you already can take a look at the equipment. But just to highlight some things, that there is a primary suspension. This is a car. You know that our trains are articulated, so this is just a section of one car, between one car and the next. There is a primary suspension. There is the HVAC in the next generation of Talgo equipment is underfloor. There is an independent wheel. That means that each wheel can rotate at different speed. That's something that you only will find in Talgo equipment, and that's especially good for the dynamics. Their trains are especially comfortable in a high speed because of this feature. The new generation has a double layer of aluminum. That means that the body shells are stronger than even than the ones that are now running in the Pacific Northwest. That means that our trains will meet all the current FRA standards. Another feature is the wheel frame. The wheel assembly is stronger, and also we widen that wheel assembly in order to allow the persons with limited mobility to go through from one train to the next. And well, there are some weight bearer bars that allows the train articulation. An articulated train, when we talk about articulated train, what does it mean? I prepared something here that I hope it would be useful. This is one car. One car has only one set of wheels. So you can see that obviously that car can't stand by itself. You need another one. This is achieved with the next one. The next one is supporting the end of the first one. So you can continue repeating this configuration for a number of cars until a moment when you need one last car, one end car with two wheel sets. And this is how a train set is configured. The trains are lightweight. They're made out of aluminum. This is now what this is used in the airplanes. But Talgo's idea from the very beginning, the engineer that designed the first trains, he was thinking already on that lightweight was good for the rail transportation. So, and that because there was economies on the maintenance of both the cars and also on the cars and on the trucks. This is a view of the cars, the wheel set. As you can see, it's quite there's lots of technology behind that equipment that makes the ride smooth. It's inverted, but the important thing here is that you'll see that there is no connection between one wheel and the other one. What does it mean? What that means is that the typical shanty movement that you find in the trains that kind of makes you move from one side to the other doesn't occur on the Talgo equipment. And so it's like when you have a cart, one of those, like a fifth wheel, a truck with a fifth wheel. When the first car goes, the second the trailer follows. It's a similar concept. Always, what this also means is that the wheel assembly is always in line with the radius of the curve. And so the wear of the truck and the wear of the wheel is much less than the conventional equipment. The trains have a tilting technology. What that means is that, well, look at these 2 points, because now I'm going to explain how this thing works. There is some suspension with air reservoirs above the center of gravity, and the center of gravity is more or less at the point where you see there. And we call it the natural tilting system because the gravity force, when you are negotiating a curve, when the car is negotiating a curve, allows the body to tilt toward the insides of the curve. And that results in two features, or two characteristics. You can go more comfortable, you can negotiate the curve more comfortably you can provide more comfort for the passengers, or at a certain speed, or you can increase the speed on the curves. Easy way to see this is when you see these, I always forget the name, swings, or these kind of carousels, and what do you call them? Carousels. That's the effect when you're riding a Talgo train versus an alternative, standard train. And the result is this. This is a picture is taken in this corridor. So the T stands for Talgo, the P stands for passenger equipment, passenger trains. With the same equipment, with the Talgo equipment in the same infrastructure, you can run faster. So instead of investing lots of millions of dollars in the rail infrastructure, you can save money. You can save money in that investment. 3 types of products that I wanted to highlight here. The Talgo Series 8 is the evolution of the 6. The 6 is the trains that are running currently in the Pacific Northwest. And those cars have this configuration has the advantage that can be hauled by any type of locomotive, diesel or electric. They have all the features that I mentioned before. You see on the top, you see those are trains running in Spain they're hauled by an electric locomotive. The same type of equipment is running in the Pacific Northwest corridor. 2 of those trains with this Talgo Series 8 have been recently sold. One in Wisconsin. The configuration is of 14 cars, and Wisconsin wanted to maximize the seating capacity. So they that was for 423 seats. And the design speed is 125, although they are not going to be running at that speed. They have all the Midwest has plans for 110 maximum, and they are FRA and ADA compliant. And recently, Oregon placed an order for 2 additional trains, but with 285 seats. Those trains, but Oregon needed to make a decision. Do I buy shorter trains just for my corridor, or do I buy longer trains that I can put in a pool and kind of rotating with the whole system? They made the decision to work in this in this bigger with this bigger vision to have the trains rotating, and then in order to do so, also they need to obviously work with Amtrak in Washington State. A quick view of some of the key features of these Talgo trains sold to Wisconsin and also to Oregon is that now you see that there is a locomotive and there is a cabbage car at the other end. Basically, it's an empty locomotive which you are just moving dead weight. So what we designed these trains with an end cab car. That means that the end car will have will provide the power of the hotel services for the rest of the train, but also we have a driving cabin. So that means that this kind of empty unuseful weight then is going to won't be required. You can drive the whole train from either end. And the manufacturing of these trains for Oregon and for Wisconsin, they'll be manufactured in Wisconsin, but then the wealth is going to be enjoyed or distributed by many other states. This is a representation of all the suppliers that we have identified for the manufacturing of those trains. Some of them are in Washington State, and but there are 30 states involved in the manufacturing of those trains. The 250, very quickly, this is for 150 miles per hour speed, and share many of the features of the cars are basically the same, it's only that has traction. The 350 is what we call very high speed trains, push-pull trains for 220 miles per hour. They have an advanced signaling system that in Europe is called ERTMS, which is like a European rail train management system that basically allows the trains to be controlled from a control center, and because at that speed you cannot really rely on what you see because you are going so fast. This is the new Talgo continues investing in exploring new products, and that's a product that's coming. We call it a Brilliant. This is for 235 miles per hour train, and this has the advantage that can accommodate more seats because the center of gravity of our cars is lower. You can have a 3+2 arrangement. This is for the very high capacity trains, so you can accommodate in 600 feet. Maximum capacity will be more than 700 people. This is just a mock-up of that, and then the question is, even though the very high speed is very appealing, that this 235 miles per hour train might not be suitable for all the corridors in the United States. So, and this is the administration vision for high-speed rail in America. There are, is defined the high-speed rail express for 220 miles per hour or higher, then the high-speed rail regional, and the emerging high-speed rail corridors. Those these different corridors have different features, and the products for each one would be these: the Talgo 350, the 250, and the Series 8. And when we are asked which is the right, which is the product or the approach I should take, our answer is that there is not only one product suitable. I mean, depending on what the features of the corridor, you can go for one product or the other. When you have very high populated city centers that are separated by more than 200 miles, and you already have money, lots of money, it's time to go for the very high speed rail. When for also high populated city centers, but with separated by less than 200 miles, that's what I mentioned before. If the distance is not very long, or you want many stops, you don't need to go at 220 miles per hour because you don't take advantage of that feature. Also, that that also requires a dedicated track. So that's also a limitation if you want to go at that speed. And then for the corridor is for also in lines where you have there is big population centers, but the tracks are shared. You need to you basically want to take advantage of the existing infrastructure and invest not all at once. You don't have all the money available, but you have over the years. And then the right answer is the high-speed rail, or the emerging high-speed rail as defined by the administration. And this incremental approach is the one that Washington took, and that's why there is a service here. Otherwise, people still might be kind of waiting for the money to come. And Washington State has been enjoying this service for more than 10 years because it was. And this corridor is the model that in the whole nation. It's like sometimes people, even here, we don't realize that what Washington achieved with this approach, and the result is this. I'm sure that Andrew will have more updated information because in 2009 is not here. But these numbers are impressive. These numbers have been the result of many factors. A rail plan, well-designed rail plan by the state, the funding for the providing from the legislature. What that means that, as Jonathan mentioned before, it's not just a matter of some capital monies up front, but also you need to support that service. And without that support, the project won't exist. And that's probably one of the big challenges for many of the states that got these ARA funds, these stimulus monies, but they don't have money to operate the trains. So the question is how. Once you have the trains, or the service, the line, what will you do with it? Frequency of services is very important. On-time performance is key, and we contribute as manufacturers to that to make it happen, to make this a reliability and availability of the equipment. We, as you know, we provide maintenance. We are very proud of the service we provide. We hope that Washington and Amtrak are also happy with this. And key is the strong partnership with everybody involved. If one piece doesn't fit, then the whole system won't work. Then Amtrak, WashOut, BNSF, and of course Talgo have been able to make this corridor a success. This the ARA application that Washington presented, this was asking for $1.3 billion. Washington State got a significant amount of money, and no doubt is because Washington State invested more than $1 billion over the years, and that's what is very exciting. What's coming in the next years. The market overview is another thing that I wanted to, the last slide that I wanted to show is that if you look at this corridor or this map, this is what the map is designed for high-speed rail. This is 100 for maximum 125, 110 in most states, and these are the main regions. And these are the corridors in which a very high-speed lines are designed, or they're intended for very high-speed lines. And as I said, this basically is going to require lots of money up front, the lots of money committed from the beginning. The number of trains that we anticipate, or there is like the plans of the rail of the DOTs is shown here. For the midterm plan, there is in Washington State, there is a plan for two. The two from Oregon were ordered, and in the big market is going to be in the Midwest region. And what I wanted to show here is these are the number of trains for the very high-speed trains for the whole region. So 65 is the number of trains required in the Midwest. 80 is going to be for the California, and 20 in the Northeast, and 22nd in California. but there is a significant market for that, and as and Talgo will continue working with the different states to make to help the projects happen, to make sure that the projects happen. With this, I just wanted to thank you for your attention and the opportunity to explain what Talgo is doing. And I want to leave you with these nice pictures of the Talgo trains. Thank you.
Yes, a couple brief questions before we have our break. Questions for Antonio? Yes, back here.
Quick question. The Admiral high-speed train, is that broad? What's the gauge of that? Is that 4.5 feet or 5 feet?
Which one? The Talgo 350?
The Admiral, the new high-speed train?
Oh, the average is well, that one will have the possibility to change also the distance of the wheels, because in Spain there are two different gauges. The standard gauge, which is the one that is in the States, in a broader gauge. This train will have the capability of changing the distance of the wheels.
Is there an effect on speed if you change the?
No, the speed is a little, with the broader gauge, you need to slow down, the speed is got to be a little less, yes.
Yeah, something I forgot to mention, my last book. In 1948, Harry Truman made a whistle stop train tour through the West. He got to Seattle, and somebody in the audience yelled out, "Give him hell, Harry!" That became the campaign theme. Truman says, "I never gave the Republicans hell. I told the truth about them, and they thought it was hell."
Especially in trust how this flexibility and adapting to the U.S. market, the hotel power, comes in really handy when I bring the motor for the train. Carlos motor virus reliable trains. I'm wondering what the bistros on the new train is be customized, like the Generation 6 products, with the sit-down American style seats as opposed to the stand-up European style bistro configuration.
So the question is whether they're going to be, the new trains, the new bistros are going to be
like the current configuration or more European.
well, this is, I guess at Washington, what we do is, we do what our customers, the question was whether the bistros for the new trains that we are to manufacture for Oregon and for Wisconsin, they have the configuration type of, like the one we have now is like a long bar, or like some tables with for standees. Our answer is that we manufacture the trains according to what our customers require. So for us, either way it can go. The trains sold to Oregon is they're going to have this kind of a standee position, which is in line with what Washington is going to implement, or is going to redesign. They're going to overhaul them with this type of different feature, different seating arrangement.
Thank you very much. One tradition that we've developed with All Aboard Washington is to take a break during these long meetings. So let's get up and stretch and say hi to your friends and be back here to go. How long?
I was trying 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Thank you.